Hello, welcome back. For those of you that are new here, my name is Kristen Lankford and I am a pre-K teacher in Florida. I normally do weekly vlogs about like my entire week's theme, but this week's video is actually going to be about my formal observation and how I planned it and what I have planned and what my goals are, my objectives, and all of that. So let's get started. So my formal observation is actually tomorrow. Today is Wednesday, April 6th. And the theme this week is plants. Last week was spring, so we kind of touched on plants a little bit. So they do have a little bit of schema. Wanted to do a vocabulary-based lesson because the kids are really engaged during our vocabulary lessons. They love to learn the motions. I feel like it hits a lot of modalities in that type of lesson, which are all things that I look to do every day in my teaching. But as you know, formal observations, it's kind of like you gotta hit everything in one lesson, and sometimes it's very unrealistic. In our particular county, our evaluation is the same for any teacher, no matter what grade level it is. So there's a higher order questioning category, even though my higher order questions might be a lot different than a 5th grade higher order questions. There's definitely, like, to get that E category, that high category. We have 4 categories. To get that high category, it's very student-led versus teacher-led. So things like that are a little more difficult in pre-K, but I do feel like they have a lot of those skills. So I'm trying to just work into my lesson how I can show off those skills that we do every single day. So anyways, I did decide to do plants and a literacy / science, because it is science, activity. I started our plants on Tuesday. On Monday, we do our letter activities, so I wasn't able to do that. So when I plan a lesson, I like to backwards design because that's the best way to plan. You want to think about your end result, what you want them to be able to do. And my end result is that we're going to be planting plants and doing like a long-term investigation to see how they grow and like the different parts of the plants and what plants need and what a plant is. Like, those are all the things that I want them to learn by the end of this week. We're also, fun fact, going to be putting the plants that they're growing into cute little pots, and fingers crossed that they grow before Mother's Day and send them home as a gift. So hopefully they grow. Might be going to Walmart and buying some plants. Anyways, okay, so backwards design, my end result is that I really wanted them to know the parts of a plant, and as a bonus for mostly my VPK kids, what the purpose of those parts are, like what the jobs are of those parts. So on Monday, Tuesday, I started very basic with what a plant is, and sometimes it's easy for teachers to look past simple lessons like that, thinking, oh, well, they know what a plant is. That's basic knowledge. Don't skip those lessons, because you will be very surprised the misconceptions that the kids have or the schema that they don't have and you think they should have. I'll link the packet that I bought down below. It has like all these things in it. We didn't really read a book that goes with this, but we did a sorting and a discussion and a song, and I'll link the song that I used below too. So instead of a book, it's just a poster that it has about what a plant is. And we made a chart about what you already know about plants and what you want to know about plants, which was 100% guided by me, because they would say something that they thought they knew or something that really didn't make sense for plants, and I would have to, you know, re-correct them, like, oh, we're gonna learn more about that. That actually is not something about plants, but maybe we could put it into a question. And so we would reframe their schema that was not correct into a question that hopefully by the end of the week we'll be able to directly answer. So anyways, we built that, and then we went over what a plant is, and it just says like a living thing. So we talked about what was living and non-living quickly. They'll go really into detail with that in kindergarten and 1st grade. A plant is something that grows, it has leaves or flowers, it needs sun and water. And then she has a really cute sorting activity. The bundle that you can buy, I actually bought something. It has like colored versions that you can do whole group, but it also has worksheets that the kids can do on their own. We didn't do that part, we're just doing the whole group stuff. So it just has headings of not a plant and what is a plant. And I actually worked on pairs. We're working on getting that like pair share going, because in kindergarten they're gonna do a lot of that. So they grouped them up. I gave them a picture. They had to talk about what it was and if it was a plant or not, and then they came up and put it under the category. You would be surprised that they had a lot of misconceptions about what plants were. Some of them even said like an animal, and I was like, no, that's an animal, not a plant. So, because it grows, you know, and it's a living thing. So anyways, I was happy that I did that lesson. It really built up some knowledge for them. Then today is Wednesday, and from the same pack, we did a very similar activity, not a book, but a poster. We reviewed what plants are and not plants. I literally went through everybody and they gave me an example of something that is a plant and is not a plant. And then we went with what does a plant need? Sun, water, dirt, soil, air. They were able to give me all 4 of those answers. Like different kids gave me a certain answer before I even started the lesson. So that was really good because some of the kids did have some words, but none of them knew all of them. So the lesson today was still good because we wanted to make sure they didn't just think plants only need water. They also need other things. And then the same thing. We did a sort with a pair, share. We said a plant needs, a plant does not need, and different examples. A worm, the kids said a snail. See, vocabulary within a lesson. And then like a ball they don't need. There was also sun that they do need. And then I kept these ones out to the side because it was, I knew it would confuse them a little bit. A plant does not need tools in order to grow, but a tool can be used when planting. So it was like a helpful. It wasn't under either category. It was just something that they don't really need, so it could go into that category, but also it would be helpful when making a garden and planting. And then we played the song again that I did link below. It's super cute, very good singing. I loved it, and it's catchy, and it goes over all the things for the week. Okay, finally, tomorrow is the observation. So my plan, or my objective, my main goal is that the kids are able to point and label the 4 different parts of a plant. I want them to know the word roots. I want them to know the word stem, the word leaf, and the word flower. And with the song, it has motions that I'm also going to use in the motions of the lesson. So it'll say roots, and then stem, leaves, flower. So those are the motions we're gonna use as we're learning about it as well. We're gonna start by obviously reviewing what plants need and maybe what a plant is, whatever, because that was our beginning schema. And then we'll do our song, and then I'm gonna introduce the book. There are so many books out there that are about plants, and sometimes it's hard to choose, but I know what works for my kids is short, sweet, to the point, because they don't really have that long attention span. And it's unnecessary, especially during an observation. Reading a long book, sometimes with this age group, is not a great idea because then they're just sitting there, and then you're gonna get kids that are off task, and you wanna keep them engaged during the entire time. So this is actually a book from kindergarten. That was our old curriculum, all about plants. And I'm just borrowing it because I remembered they had it. And the section, it's all nonfiction, which is great. And it's a big book, holy cow. The section is just parts of a plant. So it gives a diagram, flower, leaves, stem, roots. I'm gonna use this poster to be able to go over those words, not what they're used for, but just the motions with the word. And then I'm gonna tell them that we're gonna read why the plant needs those, and when they hear the word, I wanna see them do the motion, keeping them engaged throughout the reading. So the first part, hold on, here it is. Skip the page. It says that plant parts do different things, and then roots, so then they're gonna do this, take in water, they also hold the plant in the ground. So it has a very, very good image of underground and what those roots look like. And then I'll stop and ask the kids, turn to your partner and tell them what a root does. Okay, now pull a stick maybe? I'll probably pull sticks. Sometimes I say, who can tell me? But that's really not best practice because then it gives other kids ways to opt out, even though I made them turn to a partner, but sometimes they don't talk when they turn to the partner. So I'll pull a stick and say, okay, what did you guys say that roots are used for? Just reiterating that again. And same thing, then it's just gonna, it does give a couple more details, like some roots are strong, gives an example of those tree roots breaking, so extra details that aren't really part of the lesson, but just the story. Then it goes through the stem, different types of stem, like a flower stem is thin, but the trunk of a tree is also a stem. And it says water moves to the stem, so they're gonna do the motion. And it says that the water moves to the stem, and it doesn't actually talk about the fact that it keeps it standing up. So I'm going to add that part as the main part, that, you know, the roots suck up the water and it travels through the stem. But another important part of the stem is that it keeps the plant standing up, like we learned in our song. If there was no stem, it wouldn't be able to stay up tall, you know? Okay, keep going. Then the next page is leaves, and it just tells us that leaves can be many shapes and sizes, and it shows it here. Once again, this book is not going to tell them the important parts about leaves, which I kind of like because that's a little tricky, but I will briefly say an important part of the leaves, like in the song, is that they take in the sun and it makes it sweet so they have something to eat, and it feeds the plant. And then finally, we're at the flower section. Same thing, talks about flowers being different shapes and sizes, and that they are different colors as well. So brief book, just going over those parts again. Then that's like the learn, right? The I do, I'm doing all the talking. The next part for the we do is that we are going to build a flower real quick together and just like review the parts, like what goes on the bottom of the plant? What is that part? And then I need to find cards, actually. I thought I had cards, but I don't. We'll, you know, grab the roots, then we need the stem, then we need to add some leaves, and then we have a flower. So we're gonna build it like we do, asking the kids for information, not me doing it. We're working together. Finally, the I do, the assessment piece is my favorite part. It's going to be choice-based, but also differentiated in the fact of questioning from me. So choice-based because I'm going to have 4 centers that they get to choose from, which they have a lot of practice choosing different like place centers, and they know that if a center is full with a certain activity, that they just choose another one, and I'm gonna open it up again on Friday if they want to use a different one. So I'm not worried about any meltdowns, and if there is meltdowns, we're gonna use our calm down chair, we're gonna use our strategies. She's gonna see social emotional skills. So the choices are, number 1, building a flower with pattern blocks. Number 2, building a flower with like an arts and crafts, like cut paste kind of thing. The thing's already cut out, but like building it with construction paper. Number 3, building a flower with Play-Doh. And then number 4, the one I'm like most worried about that people are gonna all want to do, and it could backfire, but that's okay, is painting. We're gonna get out our watercolors, blank paper. Miss Sam is going to be at my table that I'm sitting at right now with the painting activity, and you know, she's amazing. So I've already talked to her about, you know, you're not telling them start with the roots, you're saying, like if they don't know how to get started, you could say, well, what did we build first? You know, just those guiding questions. And my job is that I'm going to walk around the classroom, checking to see if the kids can label the parts, asking those same guided questions. And some of my higher kids, I'm actually going to be asking them, do you remember why a plant has roots? What does that help the plant with? Do you remember why they have leaves? And I'm gonna be taking notes just for that informal assessment. But the main objective is knowing those words. I just know my students, and I know that I have some that are gonna know those words right away, and I wanna challenge them. I want them to give me the why, the higher order, right? Okay, and she'll probably leave after that part, but there is an end. Then we're gonna share our creations with our friends in a little gallery walk, come to the rug, maybe do the song again, and that is it. That's a lot. I feel like that's so much, but there's a lot of movement and grooving and moving and all the good stuff. So let me show you what we have set up so far. It's almost ready, of the different buckets of activities. Okay, so also doing Special Olympics rings here. Stay tuned. This is the watercolor, and then we have white pages underneath that she's going to cut. Easy, cups, paintbrushes, water, done. This one is going to be the Play-Doh one. So we have these for stems. We have flower cutouts. We're going to put certain things in here that could be like the leaves. Another manipulative that they could use for roots. Like, they can still use different materials to build it however they want, but they have all the materials here to get it done, at least something that looks like each thing. This is the blocks one, so just pattern blocks, you know. They actually love to build with pattern blocks, so I'm hoping this one works out really well, and I'm hoping that they all are very creative in it. But we have the center part of the flower. Some of them might just make this a flower, you know, whatever. The flower, They're gonna make their stem, their roots, their leaves. It doesn't have to be color matching, but as long as they build it, and then they're gonna explain it to me. And then this one is an example. I don't think we're gonna use the word part because none of the other groups have the words, and obviously they can't read. This was more what we were gonna do for our art center, and they were just gonna copy where to put it, so that doesn't really go with my standard. So I'm gonna take the words out, but it is going to be blue paper, brown for the soil. They'll put the roots on top, stem, we have leaves, and we have a flower. So I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's going to go very well. I think it's very pre-K, and the fact that we're learning through play, which is very important. I will be honest, last year was my first year in pre-K, and when I did my formal observation, I did try to still do like hands-on materials. We did the 3 Little Pigs, and we used like red papers for brick, and we used straw for straw, and I think we used toothpicks for sticks. And so I tried to make it like hands-on materials, but it was still very kindergarten, first grade, and like whole group. We read the story, then we retold it, then they all went to their seat and they did the same activity, and it just wasn't, like, they did great with it because I feel like I pushed them to be ready for kindergarten. However, it wasn't as pre-K best way to learn. Does that make sense? But I'm learning too. I mean, this is only my 2nd year in pre-K, and I feel like I've already made so many changes in the best way that these kids learn to show off their skills and the way that they do it. It's also very higher order because they're creating a project. They're not just answering basic questions. Like, they have to know the words and be able to visually create the flower. So fingers crossed. I hope it works out well. When I do my next video, I'll hopefully remember to tell you how it went, my reflection on it. I will say that I'm a little nervous about the meltdowns with like picking a center, and I'm also a little nervous about the blocks being a little too high, you know, like being able to really build a flower with that, because it doesn't have the cutouts. Like the Play-Doh and the art already has a flower shape, so it's like a lot easier than the blocks where they have to build a flower, you know, the top part with the petals and stuff. So I don't know, what's the worst that could happen, right? It's gonna be fun, it's gonna be fine. I'm going to have a million kids in here because we have 18 now. I'm going to have me and Miss Sam, and then both ABA therapists, so it'll be like 5 adults in the classroom. It's gonna be great. But that's it. I hope this helped you. Check out those links below if you need a nice lesson to do with your group of students, and don't forget to click like, that subscribe button, and that notification bell to be notified for more videos. I will see you guys very soon. Bye.